The year my marriage ended, I started eating dinner alone. Not out of sadness, or not only that, out of something closer to necessity. I needed to think. I needed rooms that weren't asking anything of me. And restaurants, if you choose them correctly, are some of the most generous thinking spaces in the world. I began going to the same 3 places in my neighborhood, always at the same hour, always with a notebook. And because I was sitting alone, and because I had nothing to perform, I started watching. Really watching. I watched how women arrived at tables, how they sat down, how they handled the moment the menu was placed in front of them, how they spoke to the person pouring their water, how they managed the silence between courses when conversation paused and the table had to hold itself. I watched women who commanded those rooms without effort. And I watched women who were trying, visibly, painfully, to look like they belonged somewhere they hadn't yet learned how to inhabit. I filled pages. A friend read those pages one evening and said, "This needs to exist in the world." Madre was built from those notebooks. And tonight, I'm giving you what I found. My name is Isabel Vargas. I spent 15 years as a buyer and consultant inside American luxury, moving between boardrooms in New York and dining rooms in Paris, watching the wealthiest women in the world operate up close. I noticed patterns, habits, invisible signals, things no one was talking about publicly. I built Madre to change that. Every week, I bring you exactly what I observed. The unwritten rules, the quiet signals, the habits that separate women who command rooms from women who are simply in them. Let's get into today's. Here is the belief most women carry into a dining room, that etiquette is a performance of rules. That if you know which fork is which, if you have memorized the placement of the bread plate, if you can navigate a 6-course menu without asking, you have done enough. You have passed. Wrong. The rules are the floor. Every woman at that table knows the rules. What the women I watched understood, and what no etiquette book has ever taught, because it cannot be codified into a checklist, is that the table is not a test of knowledge. It is a theater of character. Everything you do in a dining room, from the moment you sit to the moment you stand to leave, is communicating something about who you are when no one is formally evaluating you. The women who are magnetic at a table are not the ones who never make an error. They are the ones who have understood what the table is actually measuring, and I'm going to tell you exactly what that is. Habit 1. They let the room settle before they settle. I watched this so many times before I named it that I thought it was coincidence. A woman arrives at the table. She is shown to her seat. And instead of immediately placing her bag, reaching for the menu, straightening her napkin, adjusting her chair, she pauses. She looks at the room, briefly, unhurriedly, as if she is simply acknowledging where she is. Then she sits. It takes perhaps 4 seconds. Most people would not notice it consciously, but something registers. The impression that forms in those first moments, before she has spoken a word, is of a woman who is never rushed into a space, who enters on her own terms. The signal is not confidence in the theatrical sense, it is settledness. And settledness signals to everyone at that table. This woman is at home wherever she is placed. Research from Princeton University on first impression formation in social settings found that behavioral cues in the first 4 to 7 seconds of an interaction carry disproportionate weight in how a person is categorized for the duration of the encounter. The weight given to those first seconds is not reducible. Later information updates the impression, but does not erase it. A maitre d' I spoke with at a Relais and Chateau property in upstate New York, a man who has been seating guests for 22 years, told me he can identify within 30 seconds which guests will be remembered by the staff as presences in the room. He said, "It's never the ones who arrive loudly, it's the ones who arrive like they expected to be here." Quick reminder, before we continue, every item I reference in this video and everything I personally recommend for the woman who is building this kind of life is curated in my Amazon storefront. It is organized by category: grooming, home, wardrobe, lifestyle. Nothing is there because someone paid me to put it there. Everything is there because I would recommend it to a woman I care about. The link is in the description below. It is the first thing you will find. Go and explore it at your own pace. Now let us continue. Habit 2. They order without negotiation. This is a habit that reveals more about a woman's relationship with herself than any other single moment at a table. What I mean by negotiation is this: the checking, the qualifying, the visible weighing. I probably shouldn't, but maybe just. The apology that precedes the order. The scan of what others are ordering before committing. The order modified 3 times before the server leaves. The announcement of dietary reasoning to the table as if a justification is required. The women I watched who commanded those dining rooms ordered cleanly. They read the menu privately, they decided, and when the server arrived, they spoke. Once, without explanation and without apology. This signals something the table reads immediately, even if no one could articulate how. A woman who knows what she wants and does not require permission to have it. A study from Cornell University's Food and Brand Lab on dining behavior and social perception found that indecision at the point of ordering, including visible hesitation, repeated modifications, and what the researchers termed apologetic ordering patterns, was consistently associated by observers with lower perceived social confidence and decisiveness, independent of what was ultimately ordered. A woman I know, she ran a private equity fund in Midtown for 11 years before founding her own firm, told me she made a decision in her late 30s to order the thing she actually wanted every time without announcing it. She said, "I spent years ordering salads I didn't want because I thought that's what the table expected. And then I realized the table wasn't watching what I ordered. It was watching how I ordered it." Habit 3. They speak to the staff the way they speak to the host. Not effusively, not performatively. With the same register, the same eye contact, the same natural courtesy they extend to the most important person at the table. I want to be precise about what I am describing. This is not warmth as a performance of magnanimity. It is not the conspicuous kindness that some women display specifically to be observed being kind. It is simply consistency. The same woman who speaks thoughtfully to the board member to her left speaks thoughtfully to the person refilling her glass. The women who do not do this reveal something they didn't intend to, because the register shifts, even subtly, the moment they address someone they perceive as beneath the social context of the evening. And everyone at the table notices, not always consciously, but the impression forms. Research from Yale University on social consistency and trustworthiness found that individuals who demonstrated consistent behavioral registers across perceived social hierarchies, treating those with lower status equivalently to those with higher status in the same setting, were rated significantly higher on measures of integrity, character, and long-term trustworthiness than those whose behavior varied by perceived status. The women at those dinner tables who left the strongest impression on me were invariably the women the staff remembered too, by name, by preference, without being asked. Habit 4, they never reach, for the bread, for the salt, for the wine bottle, for anything. This is a habit so specific to old money European dining culture that I absorbed it without realizing through years of being in those rooms. It is almost never taught in American etiquette curricula because it reads as unnecessarily formal. It is not formal. It is something else entirely. The reach is a small act of scarcity. It says, I am not sure this will come to me if I wait. It says, I will get what I need myself. It says, however quietly, that you are not entirely comfortable allowing others to serve you. Women who have grown up with abundance at the table have never had to reach. Not because they were raised with servants, but because they were raised with the expectation that what they needed would arrive, that patience was always rewarded, that the table would provide. When you ask, clearly and calmly, for the salt to be passed, for the bread basket to be sent your way, for a fresh glass, you are practicing that expectation. You are signaling that you are someone for whom the world provides. A woman who sat on 3 boards of luxury European hospitality groups told me that reach is one of the first things she notices at a business dinner. She said, when someone reaches across another person or lunges for something, it tells me something about how they operate under pressure. It's almost always accurate. I have not forgotten it. I have not reached for anything at a dinner table since. Habit 5. They eat at the pace of the slowest person at the table, not the fastest, not their own natural pace, the slowest. This habit separates, more clearly than almost any other, the women who have been in these rooms long enough to understand what they are for. The dinner table, a real dinner, a dinner that matters, is not a meal. It is a conversation sustained over the architecture of a meal. The food is the structure. The people are the point. Women who eat quickly signal, without meaning to, that they are there for the food, or that they are in a hurry, or that they are uncomfortable with the silence that would arrive if they finished and the conversation paused. Any of these readings is damaging in a room where composure is the currency. The woman who eats slowly, who sets her fork down between bites, who seems genuinely unaware of how much remains on her plate, she signals that she is entirely present in the room, that she is not managing the meal, she is inhabiting it. A study from Oxford University's Department of Experimental Psychology on social eating and group cohesion found that synchronized eating pace, particularly the mirroring of slower eating behavior, was one of the strongest nonverbal indicators of social comfort and belonging within a group. Groups whose members ate at similar paces reported significantly higher feelings of connection and equivalence. Slow is never insecure at a dinner table. Slow is always in control. Habit 6. They introduce a subject and then give it away. This is one of the most sophisticated conversational habits I cataloged from those notebooks, and it took me the longest to name. The pattern works like this. A woman raises a subject, a question, an observation, a piece of information, and instead of holding it, instead of using it to display her own knowledge or perspective, she hands it to someone else at the table. She makes it a gift, not a performance. I read something recently that I keep thinking about. I'd be curious what you make of it. She offers the territory. She does not colonize it. What this does at the table is almost architectural. The woman who gives subjects away becomes the center of the conversation without ever appearing to compete for it. She becomes the one through whom information moves, the one whose presence is why the conversation is happening at all. Research from Harvard Business Review on social influence and conversational leadership found that individuals who generated the most conversation, who were perceived as the most engaging and most memorable presence in group social settings, were not those who spoke the most or shared the most information about themselves. They were the ones who asked the highest quality questions and directed attention to others most consistently. The consultant I watched in Tribeca that night at the VC dinner, the one whose presence the entire table had turned toward by the end of the evening, I watched her do this 4 times. She never once spoke about herself at length. She gave subjects away like it was the most natural thing in the world. It is a skill, it is a practiced one, and it is available to you tonight. Habit 7. They handle the awkward moment without marking it. The wine spill, the mispronounced word, the server who misheard the order, the silence that falls at exactly the wrong moment, the fork that clatters. Every dinner table produces at least one moment of minor social disruption. It is not the disruption itself that reveals character. It is the 4 seconds that follow. Most people mark the awkward moment. They apologize profusely, they laugh too hard, they explain themselves, they draw attention to the thing that happened in the process of trying to move past it. The marking extends the moment and lodges it in the memory of everyone at the table. The women I watched who carried real authority handled these moments with something closer to amnesia. A mild smile, if anything. A redirect so smooth it was almost invisible. And then the conversation continued, as if the moment had been absorbed rather than survived. This signals, more powerfully than any rehearsed composure, that this woman is not rattled by imperfection, that small disruptions do not reorganize her, that her equilibrium does not depend on everything going correctly. A corporate etiquette coach who has worked with C-suite executives at 3 Fortune 100 companies told me, "I spend more time on recovery than I spend on rules. Because anyone can follow a rule. Not everyone can make a mistake disappear." The women who make mistakes disappear are the ones who own the room long after the mistake is forgotten. Habit 8. They stay through the coffee. This is the last habit, and it is the quietest, and it carries more weight than almost anything I have described. At a certain point in any dinner that matters, the plates are cleared. The meal technically is over. And it is precisely here, in the coffee, in the digestive, in the unhurried final chapter of the evening, that something important happens. The table drops its formality. People say the things they didn't say at the beginning. The real conversation begins. The women who leave before this moment, who gather their things at the natural conclusion of the meal, who make the polite exit before the room fully exhales, miss the most valuable 30 minutes of the evening. Every time. The women I watched who were consistently regarded as presences, who were invited back, who were included in the rooms that mattered, stayed for the coffee. Not because they were performing endurance, because they understood that the end of a dinner is where trust is built, where the decision about you is quietly made. My mother never left a dinner table first. Not once in all the years I watched her. When I asked her about it once, much later when I was old enough for her to answer plainly, she said, "The people who leave early are always the people who came for the food." Here is what all 8 of these habits have in common. None of them are about the food. None of them are about which fork you use or how your napkin is folded. Every single one of them is about what you are communicating with your pace, your patience, your eye contact, your ease, about your relationship with the room you are in. The table is not where wealthy women display their knowledge of rules. It is where they display their relationship with time, with other people, with themselves. A woman who is in no hurry, who wants nothing she has to grab for, who gives more than she takes in conversation, who handles imperfection without flinching, and who stays long enough to let the room remember her. That woman is not following an etiquette manual. She is telling everyone at that table something that cannot be faked over the length of an evening, that she is completely, unhurriedly at home in the world. That is the signal, and once you know how to send it, every dinner table becomes yours. Here is your assignment. Choose 3 habits from this list, the 3 that made you feel the most seen, because those are the ones you already know you've been missing. Bring them to your next dinner. A dinner with colleagues, with family, with anyone who is watching, because someone is always watching. Then come back and tell me, I practiced habit number, and habit number. Tell me what shifted. I want to know. If this video opens something for you, I need you to be here next week. Hit subscribe, not for me, for the woman you're in the process of becoming. She deserves the information. Until next time, to every woman watching, you are not here by accident. You are an undeniable. Act like it. Isabel.